Hey, welcome to another episode of the Building Blocks of Rock for Guitar. In this video, we'll take a look at a simple riff you can add to an open D chord to spice it up and make it more interesting. It's found in several different classic rock tracks, but not always shown correctly in guitar tabs or on YouTube videos. We'll review the 4 examples you just saw, plus a few more from Led Zeppelin, also a short one from the Beatles, and I'll take a look at My Generation as an example of a song where the more little riffs and licks like this that you know, that are part of your vocabulary, the more interesting you can make the guitar part for a song and your playing. In the second half of the video, I'll show several of the examples slowed down, up close, including the pick hand, so you can really get this riff under your belt. The video has chapters you can skip around. And finally, if you like what you see, please remember to like or subscribe. This riff is just forming an open D chord. And while you leave your finger on the second string down, move the fingers on the first and third strings on and off at the same time. So the open first and third string sound. You can also use a hammer-on for this. Now in all these examples I'm going to go over, that's what's happening. A lot of YouTube guitar channels or tabs will show it as just the first string. You're going on and off. But in these examples, it's both strings, both the first and third strings. Small difference, but you can hear a difference. It sounds a bit more full. Here's just the first string. Here's both the first and third strings. Door number 1. Door number 2. So are you going back and forth between 2 chords? Is this a chord where you lift both fingers off? Maybe. You've got the second and the fourth. You could say it's a sus2-4 chord. Really, it's easiest just to think of it as a little riff, a little something you can do with the open D chord. We'll take a quick look at a few other Led Zepp examples that use this riff before moving on to Hey Hey, What Can I Do? Stairway to Heaven, the verses. Just a few short strums, fingers off, then down to the D chord. Over the Hills and Far Away in the intro of the song, right before the singing starts, and then again, end of the intro as the song starts moving into the next section. Jimmy's playing this part. And this riff is in there. Sounds like this. Kind of the opposite of the way you usually hear it. Usually you hear it with fingers off. You hear this riff with the fingers off, and then going down to the D chord. But here Jimmy's playing the D chord, then fingers off, then to the G chord. Hey, hey, what can I do? I always thought this was a pretty basic song, at least as far as the guitar goes. Yeah, there was the hook at the beginning of the chorus. But mostly simple chords aside from that, I thought. And it wasn't until I started preparing for this video, because I knew the riff we're talking about was at least there in the hook of the chorus. But as I listened more and more to the song and really dug in, I realized that riff is not just in the hook of the chorus, it's all through the chorus, and it's all through the verse, too. Here's the chorus. And here's the verse. Now, the riff can be a little hard to hear. There's a lot going on with the instruments. There's multiple guitars, including at least one 12-string. There's a mandolin. And the song itself was slowed down after it was recorded. Slowed down almost a whole step, so it sounds more like it's in G than A. And the process of slowing it down changes it harmonically, makes it a bit more harmonically complex, longer decay times. On YouTube, there's a couple videos of Jimmy playing this live. Watch him carefully as he's playing the D chord. You'll see he's keeping two fingers pretty busy going on and off. At the end of this video, in the lesson segment, we'll take a closer look at the strumming and pick hand for Hey Hey. You're keeping your pick hand fairly busy too. No Sugar Tonight by the Guess Who. The guitarist in that group, Randy Bachman, later goes on to form Bachman-Turner Overdrive, taking care of business, and other hits. In No Sugar Tonight, the verse in that song is all about this riff. You can hear it most clearly in the intro to the song, where it's just acoustic guitar. After a few bars, the bass comes in. But the acoustic guitar just keeps playing this riff. In the second half of this video, in the licks lesson, we'll go over the strumming pattern for this, including maybe even the song intro, which is kind of fun and easy. Monkey Man by the Stones, kind of a cult classic among fans of Keith's guitar playing. Lots of great rhythm guitar work and riffing sprinkled throughout this song. There is some debate among guitar players. Well, was he using an open tuning on this song like he did on so many other Stones classics? Was he using a capo? You watch video of them playing it live. Yeah, he's not using the capo, but like a lot of other groups, they didn't always play it the same way live as they do with the original version. And this riff, which is sprinkled throughout the first and second verse, it's pretty much what those verses are all about as far as the guitar playing, is kind of proof that it was standard tuning and he's using a capo. You can't do something like this in open tuning. It's the first and third strings, like we've been talking about. And if you listen to the isolated guitar part, you can really hear that very clearly. That's why I included that isolated guitar part in the opening to this video. The other thing to note is he's using hammer-ons. He's not strumming both times. He's hammering on with both fingers. Norwegian Wood by the Beatles, another example of using hammer-ons with this riff. You'll hear John in the intro and the outro of the song playing this little hammer-on. He doesn't do it during the song while he's singing, it's just in the intro and the outro. My Generation. The last section of the song is basically just this riff. He's down-tuned a whole step, so instead of a D, it sounds more like a C. I'm going to stick to standard tuning here, just so it fits in with the other examples. He starts off just simple strums. Pretty soon starts to vary a little bit. Through it all, lots of feedback, distortion, flipping of the pickup switch, general chaos ensues. But underneath it all, it's basically just this riff. And the song as a whole is a good example of how if you add a little riff, a little thing with each chord, you can spice it up and make it more interesting. The song is basically just A, and after a couple of verses, to B, then C, ending on D. With the A chord, first off, it's not this. It's this little riff, where you reach over and grab the third fret of the sixth string. Same thing with the B chord. It's not this. It's taking this down here, lifting up the first finger. Same thing as the chorus in Come Together by the Beatles, or Back in Black by AC/DC. For the C chord, he moves further up the neck. That little sus chord thing, similar to what Hendrix did a lot of. And finally ending on the D. So taking each chord and adding a little riff, a little thing to it to spice it up, make it more interesting. Next up, I'll take a closer look at two of the examples from earlier in the video, No Sugar Tonight and Hey Hey, What Can I Do? I'll go over the parts of this song where this riff is used, and even some parts where it's not, with an emphasis on the pick hand and the strumming, because in both of these songs, the strumming, when they play this riff, is a bit more involved than in My Generation or Monkey Man. If you don't want to continue on to the lessons, thanks for watching, and if you liked what you saw, please remember to hit like or subscribe before you leave. Hey, hey, what can I say? We'll look at both the chorus and the verse, since this riff we've been talking about appears in both. I'll play things at normal speed, and then slow down, and then break it down to look closely at both the strumming and the fret hand. The song is down-tuned almost, not down-tuned, it's slowed down almost a whole step, but I'm in standard tuning here, just to level set, keep it easy to compare. And I'm on a 6th string instead of a 12th string, just a little easier to hear what's going on with the 6th string. The basic rhythm foundation underneath this all is 16th note strumming. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4. Exactly the same as is going on in No Sugar Tonight. We talked about that in that lesson. And like any strumming, whether it be 8th notes, 1 and 2, or 16th notes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. It helps to keep that rhythm going, at least in your head, if not in your pick hand too. Even when you're not hitting the strings, just keep that basic rhythm going. 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, the chorus. Here's how it goes. 3, 4, 1. There's 3 parts to it. There's the chord changes, the riffing on this shape that we've been talking about, and finally, a last little riff that's tacked on to the end. We'll look at each one of these. First, the chord changes. You might also think of this as the hook of the song because it kind of matches the vocals. Hey, hey, what can I say? And also, there's a second guitar that is overdubbed that just plays this part. So this beginning part of the chorus really stands out. I'll play it slowly. 3, 4, 2, 3, 4. The G chord is, it's the rock and roll type G, where you leave the 3rd finger down on the 3rd fret of the 2nd string, and leave it there when you go to the D. And the G chord comes in on the last 16th note of the 2nd beat. So again, really important to keep the 16th note rhythm in mind. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4. Next comes the riffing in the middle of the chorus. Fingers going up and down on and off that D chord with each drum. And this part also starts on an offbeat, starts on the last couple of 16th notes on the 4th beat. 3, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, 3, 4. So now, pitting together the first part of the chorus and the second part that we just went over, sounds like this. 3, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, 3, 4. And this brings us to the last part of the chorus, this last little riff. Same type of riff heard in some other songs, like Oh, Shoot to Thrill by AC/DC. It just goes like this. So now, putting it all together, the entire chorus sounds like this. 3, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, 3, 4. Here's the verse. So it's like the chorus, and there's different parts to it. There's 4 parts, and the first 3 parts are mostly the same, except with how they end. And the first 3 parts all start off with these open chords. A, E, G, D. And then they go into this little riffing, which is almost the same as the chorus in most cases. And that riff there kind of varies. In the middle of the verse, it's slightly different. We'll take a look at each part of the verse. Here's the first part, played slowly. 3, 4. Here's the second part. Starts off just the same as the first, but ends with a slightly different riff. 3, 4. That shape right there is the same as the intro of the song. Except for it adds a little bent note on the 3rd fret of the 5th string as it ends. And you really notice that riff because there's an overdubbed guitar just on that riff. So that makes this riff in the middle of the verse really stand out. And then we have the 3rd part of the verse, which is pretty much a repeat of the first part of the verse. I'll come into it from the end of the second part. And then we have the 4th part, which is completely different. It's just chords, a single strum on each chord, and it's like this. Now, there's some debate online over what these chords are and how they're played. The 2 videos I've seen of Jimmy playing this song live, he's using these shapes. We'll take a look at each one. Here's the first one. A shortened version of this full E-shape bar chord, covering just the top 4 strings. Because it's at the 5th fret, that makes it an A chord. Here's the second one, a shortened version of this C-shape bar chord. Because it's at the 4th fret, that makes it an E chord. And because the bottommost note on the 4th string is not an E, instead it's a G sharp, technically this is an inversion, an E/G sharp chord. Here's the third chord, a shortened version of this full 6-string root E-shape minor chord. Because it's at the 2nd fret, it makes it an F sharp minor, and ending on the D chord. So it sounds like this. 4. And because these shapes only cover the top 4 strings, and the 4th string is the bottom one, that makes the 4th string kind of stand out, which is good because that emphasizes the walk down. Finally, the whole verse one more time, a little bit slow. 3, 4. Back to the chorus. Finally, a couple notes. The strumming is a little loose in places. Jimmy was kind of a loose player sometimes. There are overdubbed guitars. One guitar might not be playing the same exact thing as the other. For example, here in the verse, there might be some strumming in between some of these chords. Instead of this, it might be more like this, at least with one guitar. But the key thing is this riff. And if you have this riff down, the riff that is the subject of this video that we've been talking about, that goes a long way towards getting this song as a whole, making it sound like you're really playing it. No sugar tonight. The fret hand is simple. Just doing what we've been talking about, D chord with the fingers moving on and off. The pick hand a little more involved, so that's what we'll focus on, including the difference between 8th note strumming versus 16th note strumming, which is what this song is doing, part of what makes the strumming a bit more involved. Also, the song is capo 4, but I'll leave it off to start with, just to kind of level set. First off, normal speed, 3, 4. Slower speed, 3, 4. It's deceptively simple because it's not standard 8th note strumming, 1 and 2 and... It's 16th note strumming, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4. Now, of course, that's not what you're actually playing, but that's the underlying rhythm that you want to keep in your head and in your hand. Because like a lot of strumming, if you keep your pick hand going in that underlying rhythm, even when you're not hitting the strings, sometimes makes things a bit easier. Here's the actual strum. It's 1 bar long, 4 beats per bar. The beats are the big numbers. and 4 sixteenth notes per beat. The 16th notes are the smaller numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3. And the strumming, downstrokes and upstrokes, where you're actually hitting the strings, is in red. Now I'm not going to count while I strum. It gets a bit convoluted, but watch my pick hand for the underlying 16th notes. 1, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And also my foot for the beat. 1, 2, 3. 3, 4. The third beat is the trickiest because the strums come on the second and third 16th notes. 3 and 2. I'll play from the start, but I'll only play the third and fourth beats. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 4. Okay, capo back on, and slow speed, 3, 4. And normal speed, 3, 4. Finally, you may hear additional strumming in addition to what I've noted in red. The strums I've noted in red are the primary, the ones with emphasis, but as you're strumming in that 16th note rhythm, it's kind of natural to occasionally add in a little bit more. You actually strum the strings in spots instead of not strumming them. For example, instead of this, something like this. See how the right hand, the pick hand, is just a little busier there? That's what's happening in the song. That's what is normal and natural to happen a lot of times. It's all good. That's just the strums noted in red are the main ones, the ones you want to focus on. And also, the actual intro of the song, the very intro, the first several bars, I'm going to go over briefly here, even though it has absolutely no relation to what we've been talking about here, which is this shape. But I'm adding it in because, number one, it's kind of fun and easy to play, and I like it. Number two, it's a good example of different chord voicings, use different ways to play the same chord. And number three, it's a good example of changing from something in a 3 feel. It's a good example of changing time signatures, specifically from 6/8 to 4/4, from something in 3 to something in 4, because the very intro is in 3, 6/8 to be specific. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 4, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Before changing to 4, 3, 4. And it's a good example of different chord voicings because it's played like this, starting with a standard C chord, and then this voicing where you add the pinky on the first string to a D chord, then to a G chord, standard G chord without the first string. You don't really hear the first string. And then this voicing, adding the note on the second string, 3rd fret, to an A. Repeats while the little guitar, lead guitar in the second channel goes something like this. Before going into the song. Like I said, I didn't include Monkey Man or My Generation in the lesson segment just now because this lick is, as used in those two songs, it's pretty straightforward. There's not much to the strumming. The rest of the songs, though, are a little more involved, especially Monkey Man. So if you want to go on and learn the whole song, here are some recommendations. For Monkey Man, two of my favorite YouTube guitar channels, 12-Foot Chain and Shut Up and Play, both have lessons on this song. Only thing missing is this two-fingered riff, but aside from that, there's lots of good information, playing, and detail, and tabs too. No Sugar Tonight, another YouTube guitarist I like, James, has a video on this. His channel is not quite as polished as some of the other channels, and sadly it looks like he's no longer putting out new content in recent years, but his old videos are still up, and like I said, he has a good cover/lesson on this song. My Generation. I think this video is great. The channel, Six String Alliance, doesn't get as much traffic as some other YouTube guitar channels, but the instructor, Jamie Humphreys, really nails this song. The tone, the playing, his level of knowledge and detail about all the little riffing Pete does. It's great. You should check it out. Hey, what can I do? Hopefully I covered the song in enough detail in the lesson segment, all the different parts of it, the different little riffs, where you won't need to go and check out another YouTube video on this. But if you do, you won't find any, at least that I've seen, that accurately show this two-fingered riff. And because it's such an integral part of the song, I'm going to have to give it a MIA on YT, missing in action on YouTube. Thanks for watching. Again, if you want to keep up with what I'm doing, please remember to hit like or subscribe. Thanks. I'll see you next time.